gold and silver. Black pepper, gold, that's insane. Why? Because food needed to taste better than what it was. Salt was important. In fact, we get the modern word salary from how they paid the Roman soldiers in the legion by paying them in salt, or the term, he's worth his weight in salt, meaning that they used to pay soldiers salt so they could cure their own foods and stay healthy and stay fit for military service. All right? They would also make really strong sauces for their food. And one of them, which is pretty much still used today, is called garum, which is pretty much 3-month-old fermented fish. The bacteria from the belly, the whole fish is just chopped up and put in a bucket with salt. And it's fermented for 3 months in the sun, okay? And the bacteria in the belly actually kills off the bad bacteria, and it pretty much turns into a really strong fish sauce. They compare it to like the fish sauce you may find like Vietnamese fish sauce, or even if you took Worcestershire and left it out in the sun for a month, you'd probably get the same effect, okay? They would just use the liquid though, so they weren't eating the rotted fish, they were just using the liquid. Because of the salt and because of the bacteria in the stomach, which is a good bacteria, remember there's good bacteria and bad bacteria, it actually was something they weren't getting sick from. They're getting sick from other things. They took their eating, so when we talk about the banquets now, the rich, okay? We already talked about poor peasant food, now we're talking about the rich people. So remember I talked about reclining on those benches and eating, okay? Well, the Romans just took it one step further. They actually had places in their house that were strictly for dining, and they invented something called concrete. So they actually made a lot of things out of concrete, and they would make these platforms where they could put mattresses, and they would sit or lay on them and recline and eat while they did. Saying they would listen to music, or they would hear, watch people dance, okay? They would also they also took it to an opulence that was unseen before, where they would actually take rabbits and sew bird wings on them and cook them. So they looked like little mini, like a Pegasus, like a winged horse. They would take pigs and fill their bellies with live birds. So when they served the pig and the host cut the pig open, the birds would fly out, like a big theatrical event. Or it would bust open like a cornucopia. Remember, they didn't understand bacteria getting sick. It was more about showmanship, and putting on a show for their guests. So their banquets were very lavish, and a lot of crazy things were happening. Right? So it would be more for the entertainment factor, but they still had rules as well. All right. So here's a dining area in the city of Pompeii. So you can see that's all made out of concrete. They followed a U shape. Okay. So the mattresses would be on there with the pillows. The food would be set up here, and they would pretty much lean forward on their elbows and eat like that and drink, right? Here's another picture. Here's a 3D rendering. It depends on where you live. They had villas and they had houses, so sometimes they still use the wooden benches, but you can see the whole thing. Now they did have criteria as well. So here's a standard dining room set in a Roman house, all right? It's called a triclinium. So the host family, the people that are throwing the banquet, would always be seated here on the right, okay? Then their most honored guests, or the people they wanted there the most, would be right there next to them. So it'd be easy for them to talk to. Then the people that were sort of like the last minute guests, the people they really didn't want to be there, which is true, they had those people too, they would be over here, so it'd be harder to talk to. Remember, they were talking, they were talking politics, they were talking a whole bunch of different stuff. So you had a hierarchy at the table. This is carried over the centuries. How many guys have ever been married? All right, remember those family members, those distant cousins that you're kind of like, oh, I have to invite them? Yeah. Where were they? They were over on that side of the dining room, right? So this is nothing new. This has been done for eons.
That's the kiddie table.
Yeah. That's the kiddie. All right? And as you can see, the heads would be there, facing in. The men's are the tables where the food would be. All right? Also, too, this is an acceptable dinner party of 9. That would be acceptable. So if you had 7 guests, you actually would find 2 more people to have a modern setting, or what they would consider a modern setting, which would be 9. They wouldn't cancel a party if they had 10, but in the history books, it was mentioned a lot that a standard dinner party would be 9 people. Okay. Here's a good picture of it. So you can see everybody's laying down, feet up. Yep. Well, it wouldn't be an all-day thing, but they would eat, they would recline, they would sleep. Okay. They would have some entertainment, people playing. They might have some acrobats. Okay. They would drink. They didn't have wine glasses. They would have something like a small little pitcher, like a goblet. Okay. Very relaxing, right? Not good for digestion, but something different. Right. Here's another picture too, so you can see opulence, decoration. Okay. It is believed that 90% of the population was dying of lead poisoning because all the pipes of the water were lead-based. Wow. Women painted their faces with white lead to have that white complexion. And so one of the symptoms of lead poisoning is actually the loss of taste. Some of the reasons why they had those strong palates was because of that. It's very hard to cook Roman food. There's very little cookbooks on it. And when they did their cookbooks, they actually didn't write ingredients. But a lot of questions arise as to how they really tasted their food. All right, so questions? Good? All right, so that's a little glimpse of Roman Empire cooking, right?
Presentation.